Hi everyone, I'm Ciara Power. I'm a PhD researcher in anthropology and ethnomusicology at Queen's University Belfast. And I'm also an in-house researcher and campaign with Free the Night. And today I'm going to be basing my paper solely on the campaign. I just want to say that it's been a pleasure to listen to all of the really interesting research that's happening in electronic music at the moment. For me anyway, Dancecult has been a very important tool for placing my research in an academic context. So I'm really happy to be able to be here this evening presenting on some of my research. So in terms of the structure of the paper, first I'm going to talk briefly about the history of electronic dance music in Northern Ireland, followed by a brief overview of the Free the Night campaign. Next, I'm going to discuss how anthropology, which is my discipline, can aid activist initiatives through community engagement, followed by an overview of research that we, the campaign, are currently undertaking for an autumn report that should be published within the next few weeks. I'll then conclude by giving a brief reflection of the contents of the paper. And you can head to the next slide, Dave. So as many of us know, the second summer of love in the UK had a unique ability to bring people together who were very unlikely to cross paths in their everyday lives. This part was particularly important in a divided Northern Ireland during the tail end of the Troubles, a 3-decade conflict between Irish Catholics and British Protestants that lasted from the late 1960s until the creation of the Good Friday Agreement in 1998. After dark, the dance floor allowed ravers to briefly escape decades of sectarian hate and violence. It was an attractive anti-conflict zone where Catholic and Protestant youth congregated and danced together. So we must never underestimate the cultural and social value of dance floors and electronic dance music. But if both elements are to survive post-pandemic in Northern Ireland, then major revisions need to be made to the creative nighttime economy here. And you can go to the next slide, Dave. So this slide is taken directly from the campaign's mandate, which is available to download from their website, and I'll give details of this at the end. Free the Night launched on the 17th of June as a non-profit organisation committed to creating safe, progressive and culturally rich environments for nightlife in Northern Ireland. As it stands, Northern Ireland has some of the most restrictive licensing laws in Europe, which motivated the founders and volunteers to facilitate a change for particularly creatives in electronic music, but also broader stakeholders of the night. So the campaign identified the challenges experienced by key stakeholders in the nighttime economy and find solutions to these problems through evidence-based approaches. So you can read more about the campaign's visions and missions for the nighttime economy in Northern Ireland on their website. You can go to the next slide, Dave. So I joined the campaign a couple of weeks after their launch date as a researcher after reaching out to one of the co-founders, Holly Lester. I felt that my current PhD research resided well with the campaign and I wanted to do what I could to help. In terms of what the anthropology discipline can do for the campaign itself, I think these two quotes on screen sum up the importance of community or public engagement in anthropological research. In terms of activism, there is indeed a vast number of anthropologists who participate in activist activities, both in the field and in their personal lives. So it is going to be difficult to maintain those research participant boundaries at times. This argument can also be extended to non-anthropological researchers who are researching areas of electronic dance music, because for the vast majority of us, we are ravers, we're creative workers in the scenes that we study, or at least we have had some involvement at some stage of our lives. But though in terms of ethical consideration, it's really important that we continuously engage and reflexively throughout our work. And we recognise the power dynamics that are related to our role as researchers as we engage with our communities, and also to just keep our participants as informed as possible at all stages of the research if we can. Our skills that we have developed as researchers should be used for the greater good of the communities we engage with. This is particularly evident in public anthropology theories, which suggest that anthropologists can act as experts and advocates by critiquing inequalities in our social world. You can head to the next slide, Dave. So one of the most important skills that I can contribute to the campaign is research. In August, we hosted a series of online discussions to help open up the conversation around Northern Ireland's nighttime economy and creative industries. The events covered issues affecting promoters, event organisers, venue owners, creative artists, and other sectors involved in the creative nighttime economy. As well as these online discussions, I'm currently in the process of conducting individual interviews with some of the attendees to dive deeper into the topics raised and also document any areas that we might have missed in the online discussions. Overall, gathering this evidence has been very useful for us to create a shared image of what nightlife in Northern Ireland should look like. However, we were slightly disappointed with the turnout of the events, particularly the second one for creative artists and the last one for venue owners. It's hard to know the reason why the turnout was so low. My guess is because it was online. And I know for the second event, the weather was particularly fabulous that day. So yeah, it's hard to expect people to come in and sit on their laptops when it was really nice outside. But there are a lot of provisional themes that I have on the screen here, and I still haven't finished the overall analysis, so these could change. But it's been helpful for the campaign to know the areas which they need to focus on within the next 5 to 10 years. And I've underlined the themes that I want to focus on for the rest of the paper. And you can go to the next slide now, Dave. So one of the major concerns for many of our discussion participants was, in fact, licensing laws. Currently, licensed venues can sell alcohol until 11 p.m, 12 a.m, or 1 a.m. in Northern Ireland with a 30-minute drinking up time. Some venues, like nightclubs, can apply for a 3 a.m. entertainment license, which can be used any day aside from Sunday and during Easter. The most recent changes to licensing, which are due to take place in October, will allow all establishments which previously served alcohol from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. to serve alcohol until 2 a.m. But nightclubs and other entertainment venues must still finish by 3 a.m. and can only operate on 104 nights per year. So actually this restricts creatives and venue owners within the late night economy even more than before. So we are going to challenge these amendments and ask for a review. We're finalising our proposals, but ultimately we would like to see entertainment licensing extended until 5 or 6 a.m, meaning that alcohol and entertainment will be treated separately in any review. We will also expect the government to give local authorities the power to impose different closing times for different premises so that closing times are spread over the course of the evening and night. It makes absolutely no sense to have closing times, venues that are closing in at the same time in the same area. It's dangerous and it puts immense pressure on frontline services and the transport sector, who are in crisis at the moment in Northern Ireland. The idea of zoning and opening times would also be a good idea, particularly for areas with large residential communities. You know, the people have spoken, there are issues here, and the Northern Irish government need to provide more investment and be willing to trial and test these types of schemes. You can go to the next slide, Dave. Another issue that became apparent from the discussions and interviews was the need to recognise nightlife as an important part of arts and cultural sectors. So the next couple of slides are looking individually at the nighttime economy and then the creative industries. So the Department of Justice in Northern Ireland defines the nighttime economy as a collective term for various evening activities, such as going to pubs, clubs, restaurants, cinemas, theatres or concerts, meeting up with friends or attending community events. So one issue that I have with this definition is its location in legislation within the Department of Justice, which is extremely limiting in my view and positions the sector primarily in a criminal or deviant lens rather than recognising the social and cultural importance, which the definition does, but it's not located in the right department. It should be in the Department of Communities. So I think that creative industries and the Department of Communities in Northern Ireland need to have clearer definitions of nightlife's role in the creative economy and creative industries. However, we, the campaign, do recognise that nighttime industries occupy a distinct policy and conceptual space, which must be recognised in any future definitions within the creative industries. You can go to the next slide, Dave. So the Department of Communities definition of creative industries is based on the 2001 Creative Industries Mapping document issued by the Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport that aimed to demonstrate the successes of the creative industries in the whole of the UK. Now, we argue that this definition is outdated and propose that a new definition is created and used in legislation that fits with the current and future landscapes of the creative nighttime economy in Northern Ireland. We know that creative hubs are largely located in the daytime economy, but creative industries have mostly excluded the importance of frontline and public services, residence groups, and hospitality in their definitions, which are very, very important considerations in the nighttime economy. Creative industries are already at a low point, representing just 2.7% of Northern Ireland's total GVA. I think there is a case to argue that if nighttime creatives were able to flourish, then this number would increase considerably. And you can move on to the next slide, Dave. So the last theme I want to look at is creative drain, a term that I believe we coined in one of our sessions. There is evidence to support decades of brain drain or high levels of educational migration in Northern Ireland. Only 36% of students from Northern Ireland who studied in Great Britain returned home to work after 6 months of their graduation between the years of 2008 and 2017. This can also be said for creative workers from Northern Ireland. And I think this quote on screen here from Nikki O, who is a DJ and creative producer from Belfast but living in London, sums up the totality of creative drain in Northern Ireland. The whole big reason for me not moving back home is just jobs. There isn't a lot of jobs in the creative sector in Northern Ireland. I did apply for a few jobs back home. It's just when you get those jobs that are better pay, more what you want to do, and a better opportunity, it's just a no-brainer to take them. It's a shame in that sense because I think Belfast does have so much potential, but there are so many people like me who go away for uni and not come back for a while or never come back. You can move to the next slide, Dave. So to conclude, this paper has firstly given an overview of the place of electronic music in Northern Ireland from a historical lens, as well as presented information about Free the Night. We discovered that anthropology and other disciplines can lend a helping hand to causes like this through community engagement and research. I touched on the research that we, the campaign, are undertaking and focused on the themes of licensing laws, recognition of the creative nighttime economy as an important art and cultural form, and the impacts of creative drain. You know, there's still more questions that we need to ask, and I think the theme of creative drain is particularly important and very, very interesting, and is definitely worth being expanded more in the future. I think we need to be asking what motivates creatives to leave and not return. Should creative industries and policies place greater attention on retaining and regaining talent in Northern Ireland? Would a stronger economy and greater work opportunities encourage creatives to stay and return? How do regional inequalities in Northern Ireland influence creative migration? And what role does infrastructure investment play in retaining and regaining creatives? You know, all these questions are interlinked with the themes that we've been looking at. And we recognise that changes won't and can't happen overnight. There is a long road ahead, but there's a lot of determination in this campaign. And I do believe that we will see a freer night in Northern Ireland in the next 5 to 10 years. And you can go to the last slide, Dave. So I've put the handles for our Twitter. There's an email address there on our website if anyone's interested in keeping up to date with what's going on with the campaign, and happy to answer any questions or take any feedback that anyone has. Thanks a million.
Thank you, Ciara. Good work. Yeah, so if people have questions, post them in the chat. Yeah, I was wondering why to me anyway, it seems the laws are more restrictive in Northern Ireland than the rest of the UK. Do you know why that might be?
Well, it's funny because, you know, a lot of the arguments that I've been seeing on really anything to do with you know, our social worlds, that Northern Ireland is out of step with the rest of the UK on basically everything. You know, there's a lot of perceptions, particularly from people from the Republic of Ireland, who actually think that, you know, Northern Ireland's licence and laws are more are just better than the ones down south, which actually isn't the case. It's hard to know. My guess is the fact that it's still quite controlled by religion. So, and there's very regressive politicians in government at the moment. So I'll leave it there because I don't want to get too much into the politics. That would be my my thoughts on it.
And how receptive have you found the authorities when you're bringing up these issues, trying to make change?
So again, like, we still are a baby campaign. I mean, there has been some support from the likes of the Green Party here, the SDLP. We haven't necessarily taken our emotions to the larger parties because we want to wait and have the report ready that we can go and give to them and that we can refer to. But we have, one of the co-founders is a campaigner with Humanists, which is, I think they have a lot of international hubs. And he has a lot of connections with people in the government. So I expect it is going to be difficult because obviously nightlife is viewed in such a negative way that it's all about trying to change the perceptions for people. So I think we have a big job ahead of us.
Yeah, I think it's the same everywhere, but it sounds particularly challenging in Northern Ireland. So good luck with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done.